When they start ignoring you, what it really reveals. What if being ignored wasn't a rejection, but a revelation? Could silence actually uncover the truth about your connections? Let's uncover the deeper reasons behind their distance and what it truly says about you. Have you ever found yourself suddenly being ignored by someone you thought was close to you? One moment, they're engaging with you, and the next, they're distant and unresponsive. It stings, doesn't it? But before you jump to conclusions, what if I told you that their behavior may have less to do with you and more to do with them? In today's episode, we're going to break down the real reasons why people start ignoring you and what it really means about your relationship with them. Understanding these dynamics can not only help you navigate this confusing situation, but also empower you to take control of how you respond and how you move forward. So let's dive in and explore why this happens and why sometimes it's not as personal as it feels. 1. They're testing your reaction. Have you ever noticed? Notice that some people suddenly start ignoring you, and instead of confronting you directly seem to be waiting for you to make the first move. It can feel frustrating and confusing. Why would someone you care about pull away without explanation? Well, sometimes this behavior isn't about you at all. It's about them testing your reaction. People who test your reaction are often trying to gauge how much you truly care or how much control they have over you. They want to see how much you're willing to chase after them, how badly you'll react, or whether you'll bend to their emotional distance if you respond by seeking them out, apologizing, or emotionally overreacting. It gives them the leverage they were looking for. In their eyes, they now have power over you, because they see that you're willing to chase them, to beg for their attention, or to allow them to control the dynamic. This is where the real power comes in. By not reacting, by choosing not to chase after them or allow their silence to control your emotions, you show strength. Ignoring their test doesn't mean you don't care. It means you respect yourself enough to not fall into their emotional manipulation. By standing firm and not giving in to the temptation to react emotionally, you take back control of the situation and prevent them from gaining leverage over you. The truth is, when someone is testing your reaction, they're often looking for validation, that they can affect your behavior. The moment you show that you're unaffected by their distance, you remove their power, and they no longer have the ability to manipulate or control you. So how do you respond when someone starts ignoring you? Best thing you can do is to stay calm and composed instead of reaching out to them in a panic. Take a step back and assess the situation. By not reacting impulsively, you send the message that you are in control of your own emotions, and they cannot sway you with silence or distance. Imagine today, instead of chasing after someone who is testing your reaction, you stood still and remained unfazed. You let go of the need to prove anything and allowed the situation to unfold naturally. This quiet strength will not only protect your peace but also show that you are in command of your own emotions and your relationships. 2. They no longer benefit from you. Have you ever had someone close to you suddenly pull away, only to realize that their presence seemed to coincide with a time when you were offering something they needed, whether it was your time, resources, or attention? It's a harsh truth, but sometimes people only stay around as long as they're receiving something from you. When that benefit disappears, so do they. People who were only around for what they could gain from you, whether emotionally, financially, or socially, often disappear once they no longer need something from the relationship. It's not that you've done anything wrong. It's just that the dynamics have changed. These types of relationships are transactional in nature. They aren't built on mutual respect or true connection, but rather on what one person can get from the other. Once that need is no longer there, the relationship fades away. This doesn't make the behavior any less painful, especially if you thought the relationship was based on something deeper. It can feel like betrayal. But it's important to recognize this for what it truly is: a sign that The connection wasn't as strong or genuine as you may have believed. These relationships often have an unspoken cost-benefit aspect. And once the benefit to the other person is gone, the relationship becomes irrelevant to them. The good news: recognizing this behavior allows you to avoid investing your time and energy in relationships that aren't truly reciprocal. You learn to focus on those who are there for you because of who you are, not just what you can give them. So how can you handle this type of situation? Start by recognizing when a relationship feels one-sided. Are you the one always giving while the other person only reaches out when they need something? If someone's interest in you fades when you're no longer a resource to them, it's time to reassess the value of the relationship. Don't be afraid to walk away from relationships that are based on convenience rather than true connection. Imagine today, instead of chasing someone who only valued you for what you could give, you focused on nurturing relationships where there's mutual respect and care. By doing this, you'll surround yourself with people who truly appreciate you, not just what you provide for them. 3. They're influenced by others. Have you ever noticed that some people who were once close to you suddenly start acting differently? But when you look closely, it's not because of anything you did. It's as though someone or something outside of your relationship has started to shape their behavior. This can be one of the most confusing situations to navigate, when someone you care about begins to change because they've been influenced by the opinions and gossip of others. People can be easily swayed by external influences, whether it's a friend, family member, or even social media. When someone starts to act differently towards you or pulls away without any direct cause from you, it's often because they've been listening to the wrong people. Those external voices can distort their perception of the situation. And instead of coming to you for clarity, they let gossip or unverified opinions shape their behavior. This is a painful reality, especially when it feels like they've turned against you based on what others have said. It can leave you feeling hurt, confused, and betrayed. However, the important thing to remember here is that this isn't a reflection of your worth or your relationship with that person. It's a reflection of their vulnerability to outside influence. The people who truly care about you will come to you for clarity rather than relying on others' opinions. The solution: let them go if they choose to believe what others are saying over what they've experienced with you. If someone is truly influenced by others, without seeking the truth from you directly, they might not be the kind of person you need in your life. True friends or valuable relationships don't fall apart because of hearsay. They withstand challenges by communicating openly and honestly. So, how can you deal with this situation? First, don't chase after someone who's been swayed by external opinions. Instead, focus on maintaining your integrity and allowing them to come to their own conclusions. If the relationship is meant to last, they will realize their mistake and seek clarity from you. In the meantime, protect your peace and move forward without trying to convince someone who's already made up their mind based on someone else's influence. Imagine today, instead of trying to prove your worth to someone who's been influenced by others, you accepted the reality that their opinion of you isn't your responsibility. You allowed them the space to figure things out, knowing that a true connection is built on open communication and mutual trust. 4. You've stopped playing by their rules. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you felt like you were constantly bending to someone else's unspoken expectations? They may not have overtly told you what to do, but their subtle rules and silent demands shaped your every move. You might have adjusted your behavior, your choices, and even your values, just to keep things smooth with them. But what happens when you finally decide to stop playing by their rules? When you stop adhering to someone else's hidden agenda or manipulation, they may start to distance themselves from you. This can be one of the most eye-opening realizations, that the relationship wasn't based on mutual respect, but on you following an unspoken set of rules that they had imposed. Once you stop complying with those expectations, whether it's the way you act, how you communicate, or the decisions you make, those who relied on your submission may begin to pull away. This is actually a positive sign. It means you've broken free from the control or manipulation they exerted over you by choosing not to play by their rules. You're asserting your independence and reclaiming your own power. While this may cause a temporary distance in the relationship, it's also an opportunity for growth and self-empowerment. It's a sign that you're no longer allowing yourself to be a pawn in their game. This can feel uncomfortable, especially if you've been conditioned to please or conform for a long time. But here's the truth. Breaking free from someone else's unspoken rules is one of the most freeing things you can do. For yourself, you'll discover a deep sense of who you really are, what you truly want, and what relationships should look like when built on mutual respect, not manipulation. So how can you handle the situation when you realize you've stopped playing by their rules? First, don't be afraid of the distance that might arise. Recognize it as a sign of growth and strength. Trust that your true self will attract the relationships that are meant for you. Those that are based on mutual understanding, respect, and authenticity. If someone pulls away because you no longer fit into their unspoken mold, that's their loss. You are now free to live and interact in a way that aligns with your true values. Imagine today, instead of feeling guilty for not conforming to someone else's rules, you embrace the freedom of being yourself. You stopped allowing external expectations to control your actions, and in doing so, you opened up space for relationships that are genuine and empowering. 5. They feel intimidated by your growth. Have you ever noticed that as you start growing, succeeding, or evolving into a better version of yourself, some people in your life start pulling away? At first, it might feel like they're distancing themselves without any clear reason. But the truth is, your growth may be triggering something deep within them, something they're not ready to confront. When you start progressing, whether it's in your career, personal life, or emotional growth, it can unintentionally highlight the stagnation of others. Some people, rather than celebrating your success, feel threatened by it. They may pull away because your progress forces them to face their own fears or insecurities. They might feel uncomfortable seeing you evolve, especially if they haven't been able to move forward in the same way. This response isn't about you, it's about them. Your growth acts as a mirror, reflecting their own lack of progress or their unaddressed feelings of inadequacy. For example, if you start taking care of your health, achieving your goals, or living a life that aligns with your values, it can make others question why they aren't doing the same, instead of using that as motivation. Some may react by distancing themselves or becoming resentful of your success. But here's the important thing to remember: their discomfort with your growth is not your problem. You're not responsible for how others react to your progress. When people feel intimidated by your grow, it's an opportunity for them to either rise to the occasion or make the choice to step back. Either way, it's a reflection of their own journey, not yours. So how do you handle people who distance themselves due to your growth? The best thing you can do is continue on your path unaffected by their reactions. Don't dim your light to make others feel comfortable. Embrace your growth and be proud of how far you've come, knowing that your journey is yours alone to walk. Let go of the need for approval from those who are intimidated by your progress. Real friends and supporters will celebrate your success, not shrink away from it. Imagine today, instead of shrinking back or questioning your progress, you stood firm in your growth and kept moving forward. You celebrated every step of your journey, knowing that your evolution will ultimately lead you to people who are ready to grow alongside you. 6. You've exposed their true nature. Have you ever stopped tolerating someone's bad behavior? Whether it was dishonesty, manipulation, or selfishness, and suddenly noticed they started distancing themselves from you. It's as if the moment you no longer accept their toxic behavior, they begin to fade out of your life. While this can feel fuel, it's actually a clear Sign that you've done something important. You've exposed their true nature. People who hide behind false personas or manipulative tactics often rely on your tolerance to keep their behavior in check. When you stop allowing them to treat you poorly or manipulate you, it forces them to reveal who they really are. Those who thrive on deceit, dishonesty, or controlling others can't maintain their facade when they're faced with someone who refuses to play along, and that's when they start pulling away. It's not that you've done anything wrong, it's that you've disrupted their game. This is a crucial moment in your personal growth. By setting boundaries and refusing to tolerate negative behavior, you're not only protecting yourself, but also giving yourself the freedom to build relationships based on honesty and respect. You've learned to identify when someone is not treating you with the same integrity and compassion that you offer, and you've taken the necessary steps to step away from that negativity. So how do you handle someone who distances themselves after their true nature has been exposed? First, take a moment to realize that this is not a loss, it's a blessing. The people who are no longer in your life were never contributing to your well-being in a meaningful way. When someone reveals their true character through their actions, it's a clear indication that it's time to move on and make space for healthier, more genuine relationships. Imagine today, instead of feeling hurt or confused when someone pulls away, you recognize that their departure is a necessary part of your journey. You've removed a toxic influence from your life, and in doing so, you've made room for relationships that are based on trust and mutual respect. 7. It's a blessing in disguise. Have you ever felt rejected when someone suddenly starts ignoring you or pulling away? It's a painful experience, and the emotional sting can feel like a personal attack, leaving you wondering what went wrong. But what if I told you that being ignored or pushed away by certain people might actually be a blessing in disguise? It's easy to assume that being ignored means you're unimportant or not valued, but the reality is often the complete opposite sometimes. When people begin to distance themselves, it's a clear sign that they were never meant to stay in your life. This distance clears out the emotional clutter and makes room for healthier, more meaningful relationships instead of viewing their absence as rejection. See it as life-making space for what's truly valuable. Think about it. The relationships that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and authenticity never fade suddenly without cause. The people who genuinely care about you will always seek clarity and open communication. When someone pulls away for no clear reason, it's often because the connection was either superficial, one-sided, or out of alignment with your true self. In such cases, their departure is not a loss. It's an opportunity to focus on what truly matters and who truly adds value to your life. This shift can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you're left wondering what you did wrong. But once you accept that their absence creates space for new, more aligned relationships, you'll realize that their exit is actually an opportunity for growth. The universe has a way of removing distractions, leaving you with what truly contributes to your happiness and success. So how do you embrace this blessing in disguise? Begin by letting go of any attachment to the people who have distanced themselves. Recognize that their withdrawal is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a sign that something better is waiting for you. Focus on cultivating the relationships that nourish you, support you, and reflect your values. By doing so, you'll create a space where meaningful connections can flourish. Imagine today, instead of dwelling on the pain of being ignored, you embrace the opportunity it brings you. Accepted that sometimes the best thing for your growth is to let go of the connections that no longer serve you, making space for relationships that will enrich your life. 8. They are going through their own struggles. Have you ever wondered if someone is ignoring you because of something you did? It's easy to take it personally, to feel hurt and question your relationship. But here's a crucial insight. Sometimes when people start pulling away, it has less to do with you and more to do with what they are experiencing in their own lives. People go through personal struggles, whether it's emotional turmoil, stress, or mental health challenges that can make them withdraw from others. In these moments, they may not have the capacity to connect with you the way they normally would. It's not that they don't care about you, but rather that they're battling something within themselves that's taking up all their energy and focus. Their withdrawal isn't a reflection of their feelings towards you, but rather a sign that they are overwhelmed by their own internal struggles. This can be difficult to recognize, especially when you've been used to a certain dynamic or closeness. You might feel rejected or neglected, but what you're really witnessing is their need for space to process what they're going through. Everyone has their battles, and sometimes people need to step back to heal, or to find clarity, and that means they may not be emotionally available for you at the moment. So how can you approach this situation? With understanding, first recognize that their distance may not be about you. Instead of internalizing their behavior, give them the space they need. Be patient and compassionate, knowing that their withdrawal is likely temporary. It's important to offer them your support, but also respect their need for time and space to deal with their struggles. Let them know that you're there for them when they're ready, but don't push them to open up if they're not yet in a place to do so. Imagine today, instead of taking their distance personally, you recognized it as a sign that they're going through something difficult. You gave them the space to heal and focused on continuing to nurture your own well-being while they process their struggles. When they're ready, they'll reach out and the relationship will be stronger because you respected their process. 9. They are envious or resentful. Have you ever had someone start to distance themselves from you after you achieve something great, or found success in an area of your life they've been struggling with? It's a painful experience, especially when it feels like they've been supportive of you in the past. But the reality is, sometimes when people pull away, it's not because of you. It's because of the envy or resentment they feel towards your progress. Envy is a powerful emotion, and when someone sees you succeeding, especially in areas where they feel stuck or unaccomplished, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy. Instead of celebrating your achievements, they feel threatened, as though your success somehow highlights their own perceived failures or stagnation. This sense of comparison can breed resentment, and instead of dealing with those feelings internally, they pull away from you, sometimes without even realizing they're doing it. The truth is, their reaction has more to do with their own internal struggles than anything you've done. When someone is envious, it's often a reflection of their own insecurities or feelings of inadequacy. They may feel like they're falling short in comparison, and rather than confronting those feelings, they project them onto the relationship by distancing themselves. In some cases, they might even try to diminish your achievements or avoid you entirely to protect their own self-esteem. So how do you handle this situation? First, understand that their behavior isn't a reflection of your worth. It's about their own unresolved feelings. It's important not to take their distance personally. You've done nothing wrong by succeeding or growing in your life. The best way to respond is to continue living authentically without dimming your light to make others feel comfortable. At the same time, you can offer empathy if they express their feelings, but don't let their envy dictate how you show up in the world. Imagine today, instead of being hurt by their behavior, you recognize that their distance was rooted in their own struggle with envy. You didn't allow their feelings to affect your confidence or self-worth. Instead, you focused on celebrating your own achievements and continued moving forward with grace, knowing that your success is something you've earned, and it doesn't diminish anyone else's potential. 10. They feel insecure around you. Have you ever felt like someone starts ignoring you because of something you did, but then realized it had more to do with how they feel about themselves? It's easy to assume that their behavior is a direct reflection of your actions, but sometimes the truth is that they are simply feeling insecure in your presence. It's not about you at all. It's about their own inner conflict. When people feel insecure around someone who seems more confident, successful, or at ease, they might start distancing themselves as a way to avoid confronting their own feelings of inadequacy. This happens when they compare themselves to you and feel like they don't measure up, rather than admitting to these insecurities or taking steps to improve themselves. They might pull away or avoid you to protect their self-esteem. It's easier for them to run from their discomfort than face it directly. This can be especially painful because it might seem like rejection when, in fact, it's a defense mechanism on their part. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting the mirror you hold up to them, showing them where they feel insecure or less than. It's as though your presence highlights their own struggles with confidence or self-worth, and instead of dealing with those feelings, they retreat. So how can you handle this situation? The first step is to not take it personally. Their insecurity is something they need to work through on their own, and it's not a reflection of who you are or how much you mean to them. Instead of pushing them to confront their insecurities, give them space. If they're ready to come to terms with their own self-doubt, they'll eventually reach out to you in theme and time. Continue living authentically without feeling guilty for shining brightly. Imagine today, instead of feeling rejected or hurt by their behavior, you recognize that their insecurity is something they need to work through. You didn't dim your light to make them feel more comfortable, but instead you continue to live confidently, knowing that your success doesn't take away from theirs by doing so. You show them that their insecurities don't affect your value or your place in their life. 11. They simply lost interest. Have you ever experienced someone pulling away not because of any major conflict, but because it simply feels like their interest in the relationship has faded? It can be hard to accept, especially when you put time and energy into nurturing the connection. But sometimes relationships shift and people change in ways that no longer align with each other. It's not necessarily personal, it's just a natural part of life. Sometimes people simply lose interest in a relationship as we grow and evolve. Our priorities, values, and interests change. What once felt like a deep connection may no longer feel relevant to the other person, and they begin to drift away without any specific reason. This isn't a reflection of your worth or value. It's simply that as people change, relationships sometimes fall out of sync. Think about it. Relationships, whether they are friendships, romantic connections, or professional bonds, are dynamic. They evolve over time, and not every relationship is meant to last forever. People go through different phases in life, and sometimes those phases don't align with the people they were once close to. When someone loses interest, it's often because they are heading in a different direction, or perhaps they found new connections that better match where they are in life. This doesn't make the experience any less painful. It's normal to feel hurt when someone's interest fades, but it's important to recognize that not every relationship is meant to be permanent. This shift can feel like rejection, but it's simply a sign that life is changing, and sometimes people naturally grow apart. So how can you handle this situation? The best approach is to let go gracefully. Instead of chasing after someone who's lost interest, allow the relationship to naturally fade. Focus on the relationships that still bring you joy, growth, and connection. Recognize that sometimes the right people will leave your life to make space for those who truly align with your values and where you're headed. Imagine, today, instead of feeling hurt or rejected by someone who's lost interest, you embrace the idea that relationships evolve, and not all of them are meant to last forever. By doing so, you create space for new, more fulfilling connections to enter your life, and you honor the natural flow of relationships. 12. They're seeking space for self-reflection. Have you ever had someone start ignoring you? Not because of anything you've done wrong, but because they need space to focus on themselves at first. It can feel like rejection or confusion. Why would they pull away when everything seemed fine? The truth is, sometimes people need distance to reflect, recharge, or work through personal issues that have nothing to do with you. Taking time for self-reflection is essential for personal growth. People go through phases where they need to pause, reevaluate their lives, or simply reconnect with themselves. It's not always easy to admit, but sometimes a person's withdrawal is a sign that they are seeking clarity, peace, or understanding within themselves. They might be dealing with inner turmoil, personal dilemmas, or simply feeling overwhelmed by the demands of life, rather than burdening others with their struggles. They retreat to reflect and figure things out on their own. This isn't a reflection of your worth or their feelings towards you. It's about their need for space to process what's going on inside, just as we all need time to reset mentally and emotionally. Some people feel the need to step back from their relationships to reflect on their own growth or address personal challenges. So how can you handle this situation with compassion? First, understand that their need for space is likely a sign of self-care, not a rejection of you. Allow them the time and space they need and trust that they will reach out when they are ready. Don't take their withdrawal personally. Instead, respect their boundaries and focus on your own well-being. It's essential to recognize that giving someone space to reflect is a healthy boundary, not just for them, but for the relationship as a whole. Imagine today, instead of feeling hurt by their need for space, you embraced it as a positive opportunity for them to grow. You recognized that relationships thrive on mutual respect, and giving them the space to reflect ultimately strengthens the connection you share when they are ready to return. With Clarity 13, they've moved on. Have you ever felt like someone you were once close to has just moved on? One day they're engaged and involved in your life, and the next they seem distant or completely uninterested. It can feel like a gut punch, almost like you were forgotten. But sometimes people move on simply because their lives have changed, and so has their connection to you. Life is constantly changing. We all evolve. And so do our interests, goals, and relationships. People grow, move to new places, start new jobs, or get involved in new circles as we change. So do our connections. Relationships that once felt significant may no longer align with where we are in life. It's not about you or anything you've done. It's just that the relationship has naturally run its course as their journey shifts. This doesn't mean that the time you spent together was any less valuable. The experiences you shared were meaningful, but sometimes people outgrow each other, just like you may evolve and meet new people who align with your current path. So do they? It's a part of life sometimes. Relationships fade because they were meant to be temporary, teaching us something important before moving on. So how do you cope when someone moves on? First, understand that it's natural for relationships to shift. Instead of feeling hurt or rejected, celebrate the good moments you shared. Appreciate the lessons, the growth, and the memories, and as hard as it may be, give yourself permission to move forward as well. Don't hold on to something that's no longer in harmony with your life. Instead, focus on the relationships that are still growing, still aligned with your values, and still supporting your journey. Imagine today, instead of feeling abandoned or upset that someone has moved on, you embrace the natural flow of life and relationships. You recognize that their departure opens the door for new, more aligned connections to enter your life. And you focused on building relationships that nurture and uplift you. In this next chapter, as we've explored today, when people start ignoring you or pulling away, it's not always about something you've done wrong. In fact, it's often more about their own struggles, growth, or shifts in their life that are beyond your control. Whether it's a test of your reaction, a reflection of their own insecurities, or simply the result of evolving interests. The truth is that relationships change and people move in and out of your life for many reasons. What's important is how you respond. Instead of internalizing their behavior as a rejection, understand it as an opportunity to grow, reassess, and focus on the relationships that truly nourish you. Some people leave to make space for others who are aligned with your current journey, and that's a blessing in disguise. Remember, you don't have to chase after anyone who pulls away. Those who are meant to be in your life will stay. Focused on the relationships that bring you peace, support, and positivity. Let go of the rest, knowing that you deserve connections built on mutual respect and trust. The question isn't about why people ignore you. It's about how you choose to respond, how you maintain your peace, and how you continue to grow. Grow, no matter who comes or goes. Keep moving forward, and remember, you are worthy of the relationships that are meant for you in the end. Being ignored may hurt, but it also holds a gift. Truth. It reveals who values you, who takes you for granted, and who never truly saw you at all. Don't chase clarity from people who speak in silence. Create your own by standing in your worth. The right people won't need to be convinced. They will choose you. Communicate with you and stay consistent. Let their absence refine your circle, not diminish your self-worth. Growth is knowing when to let go, and trusting that what's meant for you won't require you to beg, explain, or wait in confusion. Stand tall in that truth.